Good afternoon, everyone. We are going to get started with the town hall. We have 65 people joining us. Really appreciate the outpouring of support for these town hall events. We know that you have a lot of other things happening, and we really appreciate the fact that you are joining us for these. I wanted to start out with just a brief overview of what we will cover on our agenda. And Darren will change the slides for me. We will start out with a COVID health update. Ron Solberg is joining us to do that. And then an update from your dean, a financial outlook, and then just a few updates from academic affairs as well. And then just a bit of a discussion about winter commencement. Before we move to the health update, I wanted to say just a couple of things about your dean. He's not expecting me to do this, so it'll be a little bit of a surprise. But all of you know that Scott has decided to leave us and to retire. And I wanted to say just a couple of things about what an amazing dean Scott has been. This is not anything that you all don't already know, of course. But Scott has been transformative, not only for the College of Technology, but for the role of CTE programs in the state of Idaho, the role of CTE programs in the Northwest region, and the role of CTE programs in the country as a whole. Not only that, Scott has been, for me personally, a great friend, a partner. There were some really dark moments years ago that we went through in these administrative appointments, and Scott was always there to lift me up, and your college was always there as well to remind me of why we do this work. Every time I visited your college, every time I went to an event at the College of Technology, I was reminded of how important it is that we continue to provide opportunity for students in the way that you all do. And that is, and I always left feeling like that is the great work, and that makes all of this worth it. So I want you all to know that I feel that way about your college, and certainly your dean's leadership has been central to the success that we've had at Idaho State. So thank you for that moment of personal privilege. Ron Solberg, as I mentioned earlier, is joining us and is going to provide a health update and just some information about where we are in the community and on campus. Thanks, Ron, for filling in for Rex.
Thank you, Laura, for having me here. A pleasure to be here and a chance to talk and go over things a little bit. I have a special place in my heart for the College of Technology. I've worked closely with the medical assisting program over the last 5 or 6 years. The health center has hired several of their graduates, and they've been outstanding graduates. And then I was, for a brief time, a student in the College of Technology and unmanned aerial systems this fall before COVID took away all of my time and I couldn't spend any more time doing unmanned aerial systems. So I have some perspective from the College of Technology, from being there and being around the building, as well as working with most of you in one way or another on the COVID related issues. And first I want to say that I think the College of Technology has done an outstanding job with the COVID precautions and preventing spread of COVID within classroom settings. The College of Technology is really unique in that so many of your classes require face-to-face, person-to-person, hands-on interaction during educational activities so that it's a ripe environment for spreading COVID, but you all have done a great job, and we have seen almost no spread to maybe no spread within class groups in the College of Technology. We've seen a lot of cases in the College of Technology, but I think that has to do more with many of your students are non-traditional students. They have jobs outside of their educational work, So they're getting exposed in other settings, or the thing that we're seeing university-wide and citywide is that most of the COVID cases are coming from close, small contact, family groups, people who go visit their grandparents or they have their grandkids in to visit them, some small group activities like that where we drop our guard. We stop doing the distancing and the mask wearing because these are our family and friends, and how in the world can they have COVID? And then lo and behold, we get COVID. So operational levels, we're still in the yellow-orange mix, where we have a limit of 10 people activities for anything that is not educationally related. Educational activities don't have that 10-person limitation. There have not been other limitations on direct classroom activities like what you all do in the College of Technology, because we just have not seen that spread within those classrooms. We've had a couple groups in the College of Technology on hold periodically or intermittently. The LPN program recently has had some more issues with more people acquiring it. Again, they're acquiring COVID not in the classroom and not during educational activities, but during outside activities. Then I think cosmetology may be going on hold again today. On-campus trends, we're holding pretty steady at a fairly high level. We're running in the 50, 52 cases per week range that we know about. We rely on everybody to self-report illnesses and self-report COVID results to us. So we are limited by our self-reporting form, which is on the web page, the main isu.edu, and then there's a COVID updates, and then down below is a self-reporting form. So if you all get sick, you become ill, you have COVID, someone in your family have COVID, we want to hear about all of that so that we can know what's happening on campus, can respond as best possible and prevent COVID on campus. We are asking folks to redo their health exceptions for classrooms for the springtime. So that's mostly for the administrators and teachers out there, instructors out there. That's for close contact classes that can't keep distancing, have to be in close contact. We're redoing that because we've learned a huge amount in the last 4 months. So we're asking some different questions and different ways of approaching the issues. So there'll be an announcement coming out to remind everybody to fill out those health reporting forms again. We just want to remind everybody again and again that mask wearing and distancing and washing hands really works. It works, it works, it works. We can see that in our case tracking that we do and contact tracing that we do. Up till 2 weeks ago, we had almost no community spread. We could almost always tell where people got their coronavirus from by talking with them. Over the last 2 weeks, that has not been the case. We've had about 15 to 18 people where we cannot identify where they got it from, which implies that there's so much coronavirus in Bannock County and in Pocatello that people are getting the disease walking down the hallways at grocery stores or who knows where, that there's enough COVID literally in the air as people are walking around indoor activities with lots of other people around, that it's being spread that way. We're also asking that everybody prep for spring. There'll be some emails coming out as well. We're hoping that people limit their activities over the Christmas break just so they don't get COVID from family activities and family gatherings. We know that that's not completely possible, that people will still have their activities and get-togethers. New Year's Eve, I think, is Friday this week, and then we have about 10 days before school starts. So we're hoping to ask everybody, students, faculty, and staff, all to spend that 10-day time period kind of hunkering down, not doing those activities, doing everything they can not to get coronavirus, so we can start spring semester with a much lower number than what we have now. We've been really successful at making it through this semester. But if we were running about 2 weeks longer, we think we'd be running into deep troubles because of the numbers of COVID cases happening. So hopefully this break will give us a chance to get the COVID numbers down, and then we can restart anew in the springtime and have another semester under the belt here. And again, I just want to thank everybody for everything they've done to allow campus activities to occur and educational activities to occur. I think it's remarkable that we've made it a semester, and for the most part, we've given really good instruction. I think, well, we've given really great instruction. We've been limited by some of the ways that we deal with that instruction. But thank you again. Everybody's done an outstanding job, and thank you to everybody in the College of Technology. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ron. And I'm glad that you were able to join us today, because it gives me the opportunity to thank you for your amazing leadership through this crisis. We have been the beneficiary of your wisdom and courage, and I thank you personally and on behalf of the entire campus, which is still in session due to those efforts. So thank you, Ron, for everything you've done. That moves us to the College of Technology update, and I will turn it over to Scott for that.
Thanks, Laura. Ron, we do really appreciate all of your efforts. We know that it's been a gargantuan effort to try to keep this facility open, so we thank you for all that you've done. I hear nothing but great reports on how fast you and your group get back to our folks, so we really appreciate it. Laura, I don't know what to say about your kind words. I think I can voice the feeling and sentiment of the entire College of Technology that we have appreciated so very much your leadership and all that you've done. I was reminiscing while you were talking. I think the real first opportunity we had to talk to the president about the opportunity to move College of Tech programs into the Eames complex came as a result of your efforts. I remember sitting in the president's office with you and the president talking about that. And I know that would not have happened had you not made it happen. So that was so many other things that we've been able to accomplish. I think you deserve the kudos for so many of those things we've been able to make happen. So I know you're going to leave a tremendous legacy here at the university, and everyone hates to see you go, and I get a little teary-eyed when I think about it. So we sure love and appreciate you.
Well, you know that I absolutely love this college, and I will cry if I say anything more about it right now. So, but I'm excited about the future of the college, and I will certainly be paying very close attention to how it's going here. And I look forward to future tours when I am in town.
We'll be happy to make that happen. I only have one problem, and that's, where did you find that picture that you put in my announcement today? You're in trouble for that one.
I think that was the newspaper, actually. So you can't blame me.
Maybe it was Stuart.
It was Stuart. We can blame Stuart.
Okay. I'll be brief here in my comments. I know that most of you in the College of Technology are aware of these things, but I wanted to just quickly cover some of the important things going on in the college. You're all aware that we did have the Eames building dedication. It was very successful. The governor spoke, Roger Quarles spoke. They both had wonderful comments about things that have been going on in the College of Technology and our leadership role throughout the state. The president and Bill Eames also spoke and did a great job. And so it was a very good day. We had a number of community people tour the facility, and a number of our donors were here, and they were very excited to see their plaques on the walls and see the facility finished. So I think it was a very great success. I just wanted to mention that the nursing renovations in RFC are underway, and going very well. I think they'll be going out to bid soon on the major portion of that. So we're really looking forward to having a nursing facility that's going to be second to none in the state as well, with a human simulations lab that we're very excited about in terms of not only providing state-of-the-art training for all of our health occupations programs, but to offer opportunities for community members also to come in and get training in a really state-of-the-art facility. So that's going to be really great. With some of the movement that we've had with the opening of the Eames complex, I just wanted to make everyone aware that our student services, marketing and recruiting, and TAP center areas will primarily be found in the Eames complex now. However, we will be keeping a full-time receptionist and an advisor at the RFC for students who need help. And then the recruiters will be called to the RFC building on demand from our student services and marketing and recruiting. So we just wanted to make everyone aware of that. The PTA program, one of their labs has been being held in the area that used to be massage therapy, which is going to be part of our human simulations area now, and that will fall into modifications coming this spring. And so we will be moving PTA, that lab, into some area in student services, so that you'll see that happening. We've also moved a couple of department chair offices. When Dave Treasure and his admin Lara moved up to the Eames complex, Henry was the first one to speak up for that office, so he's moved down there now. And we've also moved Clayne's office to the second floor, just to, I think we'll be able to better offer opportunities for students in those health occupations programs, as well as our adult ed programs by those two moves. So we want to make everybody aware. So the next slide. Most of you have probably heard about the opportunity that Mackenzie Gorman, our nuclear operations technology instructor, and 5 of her students had to go over to Chernobyl. I had an opportunity to have Christy, one of the students who went, here in my office, and she spent some time showing me pictures and talking about the marvelous experience it was. And so I wanted to give Mackenzie just a minute to maybe tell us a little bit about what this experience was like.
Thank you, Scott. This was really an amazing trip, and I think the students learned an immense amount. When you work in a radiation environment, there's a tremendous emphasis on reducing dose and safety, which is very important. But it means that a lot of times when students get to the workplace, they don't get a chance to learn about the actual radiation they're working in. We have to do that before they get there. And a lot of times students are not allowed into radioactive environments. And so there's a little bit of this catch-22 that you need to know about it, but you haven't been in it. And at Chernobyl, because it's a contaminated area, there is uncontrolled radiation throughout the environment, the former location of the plant. And so trainers, usually these courses are available for professionals. This was the first time students could participate, but they actually take the students and they show them how to use their instruments without simulated results, with real material present in the environment. And then, of course, as nuclear operators, this is one of the largest accidents, and it was very much caused by not focusing on safety over production. And so I think, when I teach, these students are really going to have in their mind what happens when we don't operate correctly, when we aren't emphasizing the safety protocol, when we don't respect the procedures that just they haven't had an opportunity to see in that way before. So I thought it was a wonderful trip. I learned a ton, even as not a student. So I know all of the students have really expressed appreciation to the university and the College of Technology for supporting them in that opportunity. And I don't know if the file sharing is enabled in chat, but I do have a couple pictures I can let you guys see if that is allowed.
It should be allowed. I don't think I'm the host, though. It might be. Ginny, are you the host?
Yep, I think I just made it so that you could share.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Right. Well, there's a couple pictures of us as a group in front of the Prometheus statue. And then
We're not seeing that yet, Mackenzie.
It might be
not.
that we might have to have Darren unshare.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
It should work now.
So there's the group of us at the Prometheus statue right outside the nuclear power plant, wearing our ISU College of Technology gear. And this is one of the students taking a measurement inside a cooling tower that was contaminated after the explosion. The students used their skills in environmental contamination survey, and they actually found a piece of the reactor graphite that had been spread to the nearby environment after the explosion. They still really have a lot of contamination, and the students were very excited to learn something, practice it, and then have that kind of success with using the skill. And they learned about how contamination uptakes into plants. So here they're surveying some roots on some moss, which was a very radioactive area compared to the rest of the environment. And then this used to be the operations office for the nuclear power plant before the city was abandoned. And this is us with the other participants and trainers. In the control room, understanding how the accident happened. And here we are actually in front of the sarcophagus. The actual melted reactor is underneath that concrete structure behind us. So it was an awesome opportunity. And I just really thank all of the people in the College of Technology who helped make that happen for the students. I think it was great. So thank you for giving me a couple minutes to share.
Thank you, Mackenzie. I wondered why Christy was all aglow when she came to my office, and now I understand that she was probably playing with some of that stuff over there. So,
Yes, we got to be very hands-on, and it was really a wonderful training opportunity.
Yeah, what a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for these students to go and be able to do that. So thanks for making that happen. A couple of other high points that have happened this past semester. As many of you know, Dr. O received a couple of really prestigious awards this year. U.S. Professor of the Year in Health Sciences and the 2020 Global Crown Award. We're very proud of Henry and all the great things that he's doing. He's really brought a lot of notoriety to our health occupations programs in the college, and we're so pleased with what he's doing. So congratulations, Henry, on that. We also wanted to mention that Wesley Usack also received the Idaho Pharmacy Technician of the Year Award. So we're very proud of Wesley, and the Farm Tech program that he's begun here at the College of Technology is growing, and we've had some absolutely phenomenal collaborations with Lower Campus in terms of working with College of Pharmacy. And I was just talking to the new dean of the College of Pharmacy a couple of weeks ago, and he voiced nothing but great things about that collaboration and what it's brought to his college as well. So we're excited about that, and congratulate you, Wesley, on your award. In an effort to sort of bring everybody up to speed on a few financial things, I'm going to give Michael Alvord a couple of minutes to just talk a little bit about some things we're preparing for in terms of the spring semester and our financial needs. So go ahead, Michael.
Thanks, Scott. I just wanted to share with everyone that we're going to be holding our annual December financial needs discussion. So I'd like everyone to be engaged, to communicate with their department chairs and their supervisors their financial needs so that we can find ways to enhance their teaching environment and grow any programs in any way that we can. So I'd like everyone to know that and be aware of that. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Michael. I think we had a couple more. Yeah. Is that the last of our slides there? I think maybe that was.
That was last year's slides.
I'll just close by saying to everyone how much I love and appreciate and honor you for all that you've done this past year in light of the COVID virus. I don't have the words to express how proud I am of everything that you've all done in seeing that we've been able to stay open and provide these opportunities to students. As I've been walking around in the programs the last couple of weeks, I've had numerous students come up to me and just thank me for the fact that they've been able to continue their hands-on training. And I recognize it's not me, it's you all that have made that happen. And I know that it's been a tremendous sacrifice on your part, and I recognize that, and I have nothing but great things to say about how you've done it and done it in an amazing way. So thank you so much for your continued efforts, and let's continue to be safe and make it through this Christmas vacation so that we can come back and continue in the spring. Laura, I want you to know that your friendship and our time together here at the university will always be a fond spot in my heart. I want you to know that I'm leaving this college in very, very good hands. Our faculty and staff could keep this running without me being here for a long, long time. They just do such a great job, and you know, where the rubber meets the road is really where all of the great things are happening. And I don't know how we could have a better faculty or staff in this college than we have. So thank you all.
Thank you, Scott. I completely agree that the faculty and the programs are fully capable of moving forward, but your leadership will never be replaced. And that is something that we will feel in your legacy. And I know the college will honor that legacy, and we will know that legacy is there forever. So thank you, Scott, for everything that you've done.
Thank you, Laura.
All right, we are going to transition to the financial outlook for the institution as a whole, following up on Michael's update for the college. And for that, Vice President Nelson is joining us. So I'm going to turn it over to Glenn.
Thank you, Laura. I don't know if this is going to be a month of farewell, Scott, but I remember meeting you when I came for an interview. You were one of the deans I fondly remember of that time, and interacting with you and learning how passionate you were about ISU and the students here. And then when I first arrived, you were one of the first deans who I think reached out to me before I could reach out to the others to welcome me to campus. And I really appreciated that. I've enjoyed working with you, and we haven't always been on the same side of the issue, but I've really enjoyed, I'm not gonna say, shouldn't say spar, because we didn't spar. It was just those intellectual discussions of solving problems. It's been fun to do with you, because you focused on the facts, you focused on the students, you focused on the faculty, and I think together we came up with some good solutions. I'm going to really miss working with you. So I know that was off script. I apologize, Darren and Laura, but I couldn't resist. So financial outlook for the university. We began the year back, actually, if you go back to the spring, as we looked at this fiscal year pre-COVID, we were trying to determine, do we take several years to get out of the structural deficit, or do we do it all at once? And then the pandemic hit. And then the governor had a 5% holdback, which equates to $5 million for the university. And our enrollments were down last year again. And so our $6 million deficit from last year jumped up to between 7 and 9 million. So it went the wrong direction. And so collectively, the leadership of the university and leadership council came together, and we went through a very difficult exercise, but we cut over $11 million out of our base budget across the university. And we essentially balanced our budget. Now we have to use $2.5 million of reserves this year because some of the actions we took needed to be delayed for 1 year due to notification on some faculty positions and some other things. But we essentially balanced the budget. Then we had the $5 million holdback from the governor's office. And we said, how are we going to resolve that? And so we came up with a two-pronged approach. The first was to have a hiring slowdown or hiring freeze, with which we are targeted to have $2.7 million in savings. The second was to have a furlough plan, which would be scalable from those making $40,000 and up, with more days on the higher end of the salary, and that this furlough plan would save approximately $2 million. So that 2 plus the 2.7 was 4.7. It roughly balanced out that $5 million holdback. Now we have one, so that's where we were coming into the year. That's the environment we were looking at when we instituted the furlough plan. We now look at fall enrollments, and our enrollments were down. However, they were not down as much as they were at other institutions around the country, but nonetheless, they were down. And if we have the normal 10% fall to spring attrition, we're projecting that we'll be about 2.9 or $3 million short of meeting our budget for this year. So if we now say that's how we're going to finish the year, that's the context we're in. Yes, that's only 1% of our overall budget, but it's still, the position is a little bit worse than when we made the hiring freeze and furlough decisions earlier this year. Thus, admin council looked at those facts and said, you know, it hasn't improved. It hasn't gone off the cliff, which is a really good thing. So we don't have to add more furlough days, but it hasn't improved. So we're going to continue the spring furloughs as planned. And so that was the why behind why we're continuing it. There are several variables that impact on how we'll actually end this fiscal year. 3 big ones. One, our spring enrollments. If we can slow or have a better fall spring attrition rate than what we've planned and what we've had in the past, that will erase some of this $2.9 million deficit. Number 2, depending on where we are with social distancing, and I know as we look at today versus a month ago, we're not better, but we're worse based on the presentation we saw from Dr. Solberg at the start of this presentation. However, if things do get better and we're able to have more auxiliary activities in the spring, and we're able to have host athletic events where we have concession sales, ticket sales, etc., that could bring in some revenue that we have already taken off the table. So that could improve things. And then the final aspect is potential additional COVID relief funds. We don't know if we'll get any more out of the federal government, but in terms of the state government, President Satterley has been working very diligently with the other presidents of our colleges and universities to craft an argument for the governor to consider giving us part of the holdback back, or if not all of it back. And I've been working with the other CFOs. We've been tracking different types of costs. We clearly we don't have a way to get reimbursed for some of the revenue losses we've had through any of our our COVID relief funds, and we're having more expenditures than what we're getting reimbursed for. So we're hoping that there's a possibility that we could get some COVID relief funds. Any or a combination of all three of these could impact that 2.9 number up at the top. But for now, they're all wishes and hopes, strong arguments, but they're not, we can't take any of them to the bank. That's why we're currently planning the spring furloughs to continue. In terms of next year's budget, I am very proud to report that Stacy Phelan and Jen Steele have been working very hard to link our enrollment projections with our budget projections. And so in January, we will have a revenue budget for FY22 that's based upon enrollment projections coming out of the Enrollment Management Office. That will then set what we can expend, and we will be able to go into the budget setting process with some very concrete guideposts to keep us on the road as we go through next year's budget setting process. So in brief, that's where we are financially. And at the end of the presentation, if there are fiscal questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thanks, Glenn. I should have mentioned that we will have plenty of time for questions starting in just a moment for anyone. So a couple of updates from Academic Affairs. We have sent these out in communications as well, but I just wanted to reiterate them. We have created a faculty impact subcommittee. This committee will look at the impacts to faculty of the environment created by COVID in relationship to workload, the teaching environment, and also tenure and promotion issues. That committee is being co-chaired by Laura Ahola Young and Rick Wagner, our former Faculty Senate chairs. We sent out some information about stopping the clock for tenure clocks, and that is available linked here and also on our website. And Ginny has put it into the chat as well. Just a reminder that we have altered the fall term. As you all know, a finals week is a fully distanced finals week. I know that many of you have exceptions to that in place. But it, for the most part on campus, is a distanced finals week that begins the week after the Thanksgiving holiday. As President Satterley has communicated, we made the difficult decision to change winter commencement from a smaller face-to-face event to a 100% virtual event. The planning for that is in full swing. It'll be a very nice honor for our students, and there will be opportunities for faculty, and some of you have already done this or are in the process of doing it, for making videos to share with graduates. And so that effort is underway, and the actual virtual events will be in December. It was previously scheduled for the Saturday prior to Thanksgiving and has been rescheduled. And then I wanted to say just a few words about the spring schedule. We sent the changes out for the spring schedule some time ago, but I just wanted to remind you that we did change the calendar for spring, not the start date. The start date is the same. We're keeping the 2 3-day holidays, President's Day and Martin Luther King holiday. And Ginny has put the academic calendar link in the chat. The big difference is that we moved spring break. It has traditionally, as you know, been in late March. We moved it to the very last week of the term, and we will follow that spring break with finals week, which will be in a distanced format. So our spring term will look very much like the fall term, except for spring break will be a full week of break prior to finals week. Couple of things about health exceptions. If you have a health exception, and many of you do, and as Ron mentioned, you've done an amazing job fulfilling those health exceptions. We've been very impressed by what's happened in the College of Technology, how well you all have managed COVID and the tremendous sacrifices that had to be made to make that happen. Regarding those health exceptions, we do ask that you resubmit those for spring, and there are a couple of reasons for that. Some of the guidance has changed over the course of the pandemic, where we understand more about mitigating spread. And so our health team is re-reviewing those exceptions. And you can, of course, submit those in the same way as they were submitted for fall through a form that goes to the health committee. And with that, Darren, that is it for me for academic affairs updates, and we will take your questions. In the same way that we've taken them in these forums before, Ginny has graciously agreed to be our facilitator. You can privately chat her or put the questions publicly into the chat, whichever you prefer.
Thanks, Laura. While we're waiting on questions from group, maybe you and Scott can talk about what it looks after Thanksgiving for employees.
Great. I'm glad you asked about that, Ginny, because there has been some confusion about staffing in particular in those weeks after finals week and prior to the beginning of the spring term. As you know, our students will be largely remote after that period. And we are asking all of the offices to work with the dean and your supervisor to work out a skeletal crew plan for those weeks after the break, the weeks after Thanksgiving break, to make sure that if you do have student facing offices or you are in session because you have an exception, that has been managed. But the message really is that we minimize as much as possible any face-to-face activity during that time. So we are talking about really minimal staffing in offices that are student facing. If you have any questions,
Laura, looks like we crashed. Not sure what happened.
yeah, it looks like we did. I'm not sure how much was missed there, but I think we're back.
Everything came through until you asked for questions.
Well, that's good. You guys are quiet today.
I think we heard most of the part about, how to prepare for staffing after the break. So.
Okay. Well, it looks like most of us hopped right back on, so that's awesome. We do have a couple of questions. The first one is for Dr. Solbrig. Could you please explain, Dr. Solbrig, what types of face coverings are permissible? Maybe update us on the latest with face shields and gaiters and your best recommendations for face coverings to stay safe.
Sure, absolutely. I thought maybe we had answered everybody's questions when we weren't getting any questions at all. That would have been a miracle in a meeting to get them all answered. So the best face coverings are the surgical masks. Those are #1 best, the kind of standard surgical masks. They seem to be that they're in decent supply now, that by our, as not medical people, purchasing surgical masks, it seems like there's plenty available. Anything that covers the face, mouth, and nose that allows minimal amount of air through, and there's a kind of a cool candle test you can do where you put a candle about 6 inches in front of your mouth and see if you can blow it out through your face covering. And good face coverings like the ones that ISU bought, the ones that are branded. I've seen a couple of them here in those photos that you had of Chernobyl, seem to work really well for that. So medical masks are clearly number one. The thinner the material gets, the less helpful it is. So some of the gaiters are pretty thin material. You can double them up and get substantially better droplet protections from those. And face shields probably do very little. And they only stop the big drops from, they hit an impact on the face shield. Otherwise, all the rest of the aerosols just go around, whether it's a chin face shield or up here, all of the aerosols just go around. So we've kind of modified to kind of actively discouraging face shields and in classroom settings of having only if that's the only option available for some reason. So surgical masks, any face covering that's cloth face covering the nose and mouth, because using it properly is absolutely necessary. All people walk around with their nose not covered when they're moving all their air in and out of their nose does no good at all. And from an enforcement standpoint, we decided to educate about what the best face masks were. We're glad if people will just cover up their face. If they'll cover up their nose and mouth with something that's cloth, something that will absorb some of the particles and aerosols coming out of the mouth. So we're not going to go around, we're not going to have the face mask police going around tapping people on the shoulder and saying you can't wear a gaiter or you can't wear a bandana. We just educate about what works the best. We're happy to see anything being done, as you all are around in the Pocatello community, and you see how frequently people are not wearing anything.
Great. Thanks, Dr. Solberg. And a follow-up question for you related to COVID as well. Can you please address who gets to decide if a student needs to be tested for COVID? We recently had a student who self-reported and was told to get tested, but the Student Health Center refused to test the student, saying the student didn't need to be tested. Please advise.
Yeah, the student, who gets to decide? Well, anybody can roll up to the Holt Arena and say they want a test done, and the Holt Arena is doing it. The cost may be an issue. If there's some insurance companies have threatened that they're not going to pay for COVID tests if there's not a medical indication for doing it or a physician order for doing it. Our testing site, in conjunction with Express Labs, 2 weeks ago said they haven't had one refused yet, so that we aren't having a problem with payment so far. But we know a fair number of students don't have insurance, so payment can be an issue. And that question of, well, our committee says, or our contact tracer said they need a test and the health center doesn't, then then we have to work that out between the health center and our committee and decide what needs to be done. So if that happens again, if there's any issue like that, have the student fill out another self-report form and write in there specifically to talk with Dr. Solberg. So if they'll fill out a self-report form and say, hey, can I talk with Dr. Solberg so we can get this worked out, I'll be happy to talk with anybody.
Great, thank you. And while I have you, one more related question. Submitted health exceptions for some spring courses in mid-October, but haven't seen a response. Do they need to be resubmitted? Has the form changed since then?
The form has changed, but I believe at our meeting just today decided that we weren't going to torture everybody if we haven't approved it already. So that I believe our decision was, if you still have one pending, we'll take care of the pending ones out of the old form. We intentionally delayed doing some of the health exceptions because we knew the landscape would be changing. So we intentionally delayed them a bit until it came closer, but now closer is here. So that is, if you have one that's pending, you don't need to fill out a new one.
Great, thanks, Dr. Solberg. Okay, back to procedural college questions. The first one is, when will the search begin for the BASS chair?
I can answer that one. right after the first of the year, early in the spring semester, we plan to begin that search.
Great. Related question, Scott and Laura, can someone please talk about the plan for interim dean after Scott retires?
Yes, I can talk about that. And in fact, Scott and I have met about that, and we are working on implementing that plan, and you should know more about that within a week or so. And that my goal is to have an interim named, certainly, let's see, this hopefully by Thanksgiving or shortly thereafter, giving that person, you know, some time with Scott before Scott retires.
Great, thank you, Laura. I'm seeing the last of the questions. That's all I have on my end. So, oops, sorry, one just came in. This would be maybe for Dr. Solberg and you, Laura. Since the winter is supposed to be the worst time for COVID, why was the decision made to start during the regular time in the spring? Would it be wiser to start later and end in May?
We talked about that when we put the schedule together. At that time, we decided that we would continue to evaluate the health situation in our operational level on a weekly basis, which we continue to do. So if we are in a situation that prompts us to go to a new operational level, we will respond by changing our course delivery to match that operational level if needed. So that was how we decided to handle that. Of course, we are monitoring those operational levels and the health environment on a daily and weekly basis. Ron, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, we had a lot of discussion about starting a week later and not having spring break at all. And there were a huge number of issues with registration and financial aid and having to get the dates properly done on all of those. Those were not insurmountable, but it was a huge amount of work. So it was a month-long process, probably, of multiple people talking and trying to come up with what worked best for efficiency within the department. Both, you know, starting a week later and having no spring break and what was decided seemed equally good. And this starting on time and having a spring break that's delayed seemed like it gave adequate COVID precautions with limiting the unnecessary going into every financial aid form independently and changing dates on them to meet federal requirements.
Great, thank you both. And I believe that is the last question. So Laura, I will turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Jenny. Thanks for all your help with all of these town halls. It's been great having Jenny manage the facilitation. We will schedule new town halls in the spring. Those haven't been scheduled yet. Just a reminder to everyone to take significant precautions during the upcoming holiday season. It's really important that we do that for the safety of our community, the safety of each other, because we are seeing significant amount of spread in our community, all of our communities actually that ISU serves. And I just want to again congratulate Scott on his retirement and thank him for the just friendship and wisdom and support that he has given me and that he's given all of you. And to again thank all of you for battling through what has been a really difficult semester and a really heroic effort on your part. So thank you all for all that you did to make this semester successful. And that is it for us. Thank you for attending. And you know, if you do have questions that come up, you can always reach out to us at any time.